Just gonna wait for this to connect. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started, and anyone else that joins in will join in, and that will be great. But I want to say thank you to those that are joining in live to our first interview with HLRBO with Miss Cookie. And I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell us a little bit about what HLRBO stands for and what is HLRBO.
Sounds good. Thank you, Danielle. Hi, my name is Cookie. Little background about me. I joined HLRBO about 3 years ago. I'm one of the developers on the site and do some marketing as well and some media such as this. Very excited to be here. Happy to be here. Thank you, Danielle, for the invitation and providing a platform for us to talk about who we are, and what we do, and our process. Hope to give you some good content here for everyone. I like that this empower others and give an alternative option to create revenue for everyone. What is HLRBO? HLRBO stands for Hunting Land Rental by Owner. Kind of the same concept as Airbnb, but for landowners. HLRBO is an online network that connects landowners and hunters. We provide a platform that makes it easy for hunters to search properties by location, price, availability. We make it safer and secure for landowners with options for hunting, leasing, liability insurance, free lease agreement templates in every state. And best of all, the landowners, for landowners, it's completely free for you to list. And we don't take any commissions or any fees. We recently switched over to a subscription service for hunters, so it's completely free for landowners to list with us. So in a nutshell, that is HLRBO and what we stand for.
All right, so you're kind of like the Airbnb. If someone's looking for hunting land, they can go to your website, kind of type in what they're looking for, where they're looking for it, and connect with somebody else for their needs, correct?
Yep. We are like the phone book, but on the internet for folks looking for land. So yeah.
Okay, so one of the first questions that comes to my mind is, what is the benefit of a landowner advertising a hunting lease with y'all versus just saying, hey, I'm going to lease to my family friend or neighbor down the road? Like, what are some of the benefits they would get for advertising with you?
Sure, that's a great question. With over 35,000 hunters from all over the country, HLRBO gives landowners the opportunity to maximize the value of the hunting rights on their property. In addition, we give you peace of mind with insurance liability coverage up to $2 million. And again, the free lease agreement templates for each state that we have available for landowners. Typically, landowners have the hunters purchase it, and a landowner can include a landowner can purchase it and include the price of the insurance as a part of the lease price, or they can just ask the hunter to purchase the insurance as a prerequisite for the lease as well. Again, it's completely free for the landowner to list with us. No fees or commissions. I'm going to sound like a broken record. It's a big thing for landowners to know that you get to keep 100% of your proceeds for your lease.
Well, I think that's a great point too, because everyone's always looking for, where's the catch, where's the hidden fees, where's that extra, like, no commission, no fees. Oh, by the way, we add 1% at the end that you have to pay us to advertise.
Oh, you
that
didn't
doesn't
read that
count.
disclaimer?
Yes, exactly. Okay,
Right.
so we're going to go into a little bit of what you just talked about with the insurance in just a few moments.
Okay.
But for the opposite end of someone that is wanting to lease land for hunting, how does someone go about looking for land to hunt on what they want? Say they just want to deer hunt or duck hunt. How can they go about looking for a piece of land through y'all?
Yeah, sure. So HLRBO has a custom lease finder program. So hunters create an online program or profile, excuse me, with all the options that are important to them. And then we match them with the landowners. So hunters would enter things like states, counties, acreage, the price range, time frame, whether it's going to be year, multi-year, the types of hunting, big game like deer, bear, elk, um, small game, fox, badger, the types of terrain, and many other factors as well. Then we gather that information and we would send the hunters an email based on the criteria that they specified in the lease finder program.
Okay, so it is really similar to like if I wanted to find a vacation home for the weekend, I would be like, I want a condo by waterfront in Florida on the southern panhandle. So you can really narrow in kind of what you're looking for, where you're looking for within your budget, just for hunting purposes.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. That's really good because I've hear all the time from folks too, like, oh, I don't know where to go. I want to hunt, but I don't know anyone that has land. I don't know where to go to find it, or the vice versa. Someone's always like, oh, I considered hunting or like doing a hunting lease, but I'm not really sure like anything about it and go about it. So this is really great information.
Yeah.
Um, for a landowner that might be interested in providing a hunting lease for their property. What is an average per acre rate, perhaps? And I know it's going to range a lot depending on region and location and type of hunting, but what kind of averages could they expect to receive for hunting leases or a range of per acre rates?
Sure. And you hit it on the nail on the head there, Danielle. It does vary by state to state. For example, rates in Georgia per acre range from $30 to $50. And in Florida, that ranges from 50 to 75 per acre. Alabama, and I'm just naming things that are, kind of down south there. I'm in Minnesota. and in Alabama, rates are from 20 to 40 per acre. We actually have a pricing calculator on our website that I can share with you as well at the end of the call, or maybe you can email it out to your audience. And all you have to do is just enter the state, the county, how many acres that you are looking to lease, and you'll get a quote. You can also, maybe compare with other listings we have with the state and the county as well. Just kind of gauge as to what you want to price it.
Okay. That
Yeah.
that's awesome. And you have a calculator on your website of roughly what they should be
Yeah.
receiving. And of course, with the disclaimer boundaries that these are going to change based on your exact location and what you're asking and your acreage and blah, 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 correct?
Right.
Yeah. So the most common question I get is liability. So what liability should a landowner be aware of before offering to even do a hunting lease? It's a great income opportunity, but what are some of the things they should definitely be aware of before they jump into it?
Sure. Also, great popular question. Landowners should require hunters to have liability insurance or purchase a liability insurance and included in the price of the lease. It's relatively inexpensive. It's 200 to 300 per year. And landowners should also require hunters to sign a lease agreement as well. HLRBO offers custom lease agreement templates for every state, and landowners can customize them to meet their needs. It's kind of a Word document that we have. And once you create a listing with us, it's in your profile section, and yeah, it just knows what state that you're in and just has it available for you. So yeah.
And those documents would more or less kind of cover them, say like if an accident was to happen out there, they're not going to be responsible or be liable to get sued for letting someone hunt out there, correct? That's kind of what those forms are.
I believe that is the lease agreement, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So still sticking on the topic of insurance and liability, does HLRBO provide any type of insurance or liability coverage like through your website for those that advertise with y'all or for the hunters that lease with y'all? Or do you kind of just, as you mentioned, you provide that template and it's up to the hunters and landowners' responsibility?
Yeah, HLRBO offers liability insurance options. Hunters can purchase the insurance, or the landowners, like as I stated earlier, and there's a few that we do have on our website. One of them is the American Hunting Lease Association. Uh, it's ahuntinglease.org, and I can again share that link with you as well. There's like two other options that we have on our site as well. But yeah, we do.
Okay, so someone that is just jumping into the hunting leases and they don't really know like who would even provide this type of insurance. You do have 2 or 3 contact options that they can find through their website to compare and see
Yep,
if that's what they need, and it would provide them the coverage to give them that peace of mind.
you got it. Yep.
Okay, cool. Because that is the number one concern from almost everybody I
Yeah.
hear is about that liability. And it is something I 100% encourage for women, for landowners to get before they even let their cousin Joe, because one
Right.
small thing sometimes can turn into something much bigger. So just having that preemptive upfront, insurance coverage and everything's good to go.
Yep. Cover yourself.
100%.
Yes.
Um, okay, so getting to more of the more fun parts, what is the biggest type of hunting land desired from what y'all have observed on your website? Is it like deer hunting with rifle, archery, dogs, duck hunting, turkey hunting? Like what do you see as most desired for hunting
Sure.
land?
The most popular hunting seasons are deer with hunting rifle, by far. um, and there's also hog hunting. That is also very popular as well. Deer is like top, then hog hunting. Turkey hunting and duck hunting is also really popular as well. They're all up there, although the deer really takes the cake. Typically, hunting leases are in 1 year in length, but alternative options are becoming more popular. Uh, Daily leases and weekly leases and seasonal leases as well. Land that is a good fit for deer hunting is always in demand. Uh, Turkey hunting typically requires a larger acreage, but is also popular in any property with wetlands, and ducks is also popular.
Okay, and so you just touched on this briefly, but someone could um, on both sides of the fence, they could offer leases for just a day, daily pass type thing, a week, and then hunters can just do like, hey, I'm just going to be in town for the weekend. I just want to lease for 2 days. They don't have to do like a bulk season, that which in my head I'm always thinking like, okay, if I do a hunting lease, you're going to do it for the season, but they can kind of narrow down like an Airbnb again, like, all
Yep,
right, you want to lease for October 1st through the 3rd, this is your weekend, and they can hit up different folks for different time periods.
exactly. Yeah, the traditional, I think, is that year lease or that season, but we have seen an uptick in like weekend leases or daily leases. Just there are a lot of new folks that want to get into hunting, and they don't want to do that
Mhm.
whole commitment, right, for a whole year or a season. And yeah, that daily or the weekly is a good option. to have.
Well, I think that's a great option because I haven't even really thought about that. Everyone I know always does it for the season or an annual contract, but someone that's really wanting to just try out hunting leases for their property and wanting to try going into hunting and see like what type of hunting maybe is more of their style. They don't
Mhm.
have to commit to paying that annual subscription. They can just try, okay, I'll do duck hunting up here for a week, and they can really try out different areas before they hone in on what they want, which I think
Right.
is a great opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
S- so playing on that a little bit still, what season of hunting provides the best revenue opportunity? So deer hunting is the most desired, but is it also the best revenue opportunity for the landowners, or is it something else?
Deer hunting is by far the most popular and provides the best opportunity for leasing out your property at the highest rate. No matter what state, it seems like that seems to be the popular. Other popular hunting seasons, as I stated earlier, include that turkey and that duck hunting. They also command a premium price in your property as well. Yeah, that
Okay.
check out the pricing calculator on the HLRBO for the rates and the acres in the property and how many hunters are looking in your area as well. There's when you type in that pricing lease rate on the bottom, it kind of shows you how many hunters are looking in your area to match what you just typed in. So
Oh, that's awesome too.
yeah,
So you can also kind of see the demand for your area. So if you're like, well, I want to offer duck hunting, but no one is searching for duck hunting in your property, you might want to try to go into a different hunting lease maybe. I mean, still maybe offer it,
yeah,
but knowing there's not a high demand for it.
yeah.
Um, And so, I mean, this next question is kind of redundant because you just answered that. But how does the landowner know if they're receiving a fair lease rate and know what rates to ask for?
Sure. Yeah, like I said, the HLRBO has our online calculator, and hunters or landowners can enter that information and check out what to charge. Um, yeah, it just kind of gives you a good calculator and what to charge other folks.
Well, that's good. That's good because again, that's another besides liability and insurance and those concerns, the next question is like, what do I charge? How do I know if it's right? What if I'm overcharging, undercharging? And so that's a great little tool for them to give them again peace of mind and confidence that what they're doing is fair. They're not if the hunters or someone's like, oh, that's way too much, they'll kind of have a ballpark range of like, no, not really. They just don't want to pay it
Right,
type
right.
thing.
And again, you could always, besides that leasing calculator, you can look at other folks in your state and your county as well, and look at their listings,
Mhm.
and kind of gauge. Yeah,
Good comparison. All right, so this is my last question, and then we are going to have question answer from the folks that are here live today. But how much acreage should a landowner have to consider hunting leases as an option? Like, is there a minimum that they should have? Is there a range that they should really be looking for to optimize hunting lease opportunities?
sure. It depends on the location. Typically, we recommend at least 40 acres, but some locations in the East Coast, landowners have 10 plus acres, and that will lease their property for hunting. Typically, bow hunting that is in the East Coast. Um, Other areas, especially out west and in Texas, the properties are usually larger than 40 acres. A lot of land down there,
Yeah.
and we have listings on HLRBO ranging from 10 acres to like 100,000 plus. So it is big
All
range.
across.
Oh yes, big range. Yep.
What do you, and I know this wasn't a question, I had originally wanted to ask, but I just thought of it like, what is the most desired acreage you tend to see leases the best? Like what range of offers tends to get leased more often?
I I have seen this. This is just me. I've seen like 100 plus, and it depends on like how many people are hunting with you.
Hmm.
And it's usually groups that are, you know, that are looking for that 100 plus. That's what I've seen. I know
Okay.
other team members might see something different, but
And again, that's probably going to vary based on the type of hunting that they
yeah,
want and the region and the location. But I was wondering, like, if someone had, 300 acres, would it be advisable for them to lease the 300 acres at once, or maybe split it up between 150 and 150, or the 50, 50, 50, like 50s, because that tends to be more desired.
yeah.
And so that, I guess that was kind of my range of question I was
Oh, gotcha.
asking.
I mean, yeah, for listing your property, if you wanted to actually split it up, that'd be pretty great as well. I mean, you're kind of maximizing your revenue.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, that's something you can do as well. But it depends on, how much traffic you want as well. So there's
Hmm.
options.
Pros and cons. You have smaller
Yeah,
acreages, you're probably going to get maybe more traffic coming through versus having a larger one. You'll probably get a steady
right.
person or set of people that
Yeah.
will be out there more.
Yep.
Um,
You are in control as the landowner as to what you want to list, how much money, how much acreage. So yeah,
that's
you're in
awesome.
control. Yeah. Your rules.
Um, so we do have a couple questions coming in through the chat that I'm going to read, but before I read them, is there anything I didn't ask that you feel is important for landowners to know about before leasing with y'all, and on the flip side, hunters to know before they, move forward with leasing with somebody else?
Um, just that you know, with back to the question about advertising with us or the person down the street or your family friend. You know, like I said earlier, we have a really big audience, 35,000 or 37,000 hunters from across the country. We actually just recently expanded to Canada as well.
Wow.
So if you're looking to uh, hunt some bear or just go across the border there, it's actually more than just bear, but I've seen a lot of that. But we also advertise your listing on our social media platforms. So we have Instagram, we have 31,000 followers on there. We have our Facebook page, 63 followers there. Facebook group, 23,000. We have a bi-monthly newsletter that we send out to our audience. So it'll be featured there.
Hmm.
Yeah, and as well as on our website, obviously.
So a lot of exposure and opportunity for a landowner that wanted to maximize their potential
Yep,
um, for a hunting lease.
yep,
Awesome.
and
And that's half of really anything in land management and forestry. It's all about markets. So the more exposure you
yep,
have and the reach you can get, the more opportunity you have
right,
for
and
whatever
all
you want to do.
right, and all free.
Yeah, and that's the extra bonus. Awesome
Right.
part. Okay, so I'm going to read through some of these questions. I'm going to scroll more or less almost to the top from CW Lewis. Her question is a two-part question that I think we kind of answered, but I'm going to read it. What
Okay.
about accommodations for multiple overnight stays? What is the minimum average acreage for leasing? So I assume accommodations for overnight stays is the hunter's responsibility to find a hotel or something unless you wanted to provide lodging.
Right. Actually, I've seen in our listings as well. There's either cabins. If you have a cabin on your land,
Mhm.
that's awesome. Put that in your description. There's also camping. People, are okay with others, if you're hunting on the land, you can camp on their land as well. You just have to read the description. Yeah, or the landowners will list various, if you're looking for a place to stay 10 minutes down the road, you can find XYZ or something like that. But
Okay, so you would just more or less, if you don't have a cabin that you're willing to rent out to the hunters as well, you could put local accommodations in the nearest town, or if you're okay with them just bringing a tent and pitching up out there,
yep,
providing those, and you can just really mold it.
yep,
Um, and then her other part was the minimum average acreage for leasing, which it sounds like you can have as little as 10 acres.
yep,
And the most desired tends to be around that 100 acres point, but
yeah,
40 acres tends to be the good sweet spot.
right, right, yep, you got it.
Okay.
And I just wanted to touch base on that as well, that, we help set expectations as well, or you could put that in your listing, in the description, that
Hmm.
you've got property rules, and hunters have to agree before leasing that there's various restrictions, like no smoking or drinking or something like that. So
Okay. Again, just like going to an Airbnb and renting that, you have certain rules you may or may not be allowed to do, smoking, pets, more than
exactly,
4 people type thing.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, next question. What kind of turnover do you have? If you have high rates for lease, it seems likely that you'd have higher turnover and more harvesting for short-term rather than long-term stewardship. So, in a nutshell, it sounds like just uh, what kind of turnover, I guess, long-term sustainability of hunters, or like if you have higher rates, it looks like she's saying you'd have more short-term hunters versus someone that's renting out for the season.
Yeah, I guess that just kind of varies as to how you're advertising your land. Let's say you're doing it as uh, let's say you're doing it as weekly, and you know if that's a lot of traffic, you can decide to pause that. You're in control of your lease and how long you want to advertise your lease for. I think that kind of touches
Hmm.
that question. um,
Um, I'm not 100% sure. She has a few other questions, and this is Heather Brasville. She said, "What rate of acres per hunter do you recommend for sustainable hunting?" I don't really quite understand that question. But she does mention at the end, she said she used your calculator and gave $60 an acre for 100 acres, and these rates seem high for her area that she's heard of,
oh,
less than $15 an acre,
oh, wow, okay.
compared to what your calculator recommended.
Yeah, I would probably maybe do a little bit more research regarding that. I apologize, I just don't know that. Um, I'd have to kind of look at the area and stuff like that.
Hmm. And I would say probably I guess I haven't been on the calculator yet to like try to do this like, little experiment. The $60 compared to $15. My first question would be, is that $15 for like the annual for the year? Like maybe you're doing the hunting club type thing, so it's $15 per person, and there's 15 people versus $60 just for that one person. I guess that would be some of my questions.
Sure.
How that's varying, because I know a lot in southern Georgia, most hunting leases tend to be to hunting clubs that are going to have maybe 5 to 105 people, and those rates will vary based on kind of what they have out there, acreage, number of people. Like if they have less people, you're probably going to pay a little bit more for that exclusiveness,
Yeah.
versus if it's a much bigger hunting club, you're probably going to pay a little bit less because that fees are distributed among folks, is what I'm assuming.
Yeah, I can circle back on that as well. Definitely, and email you back.
Okay. So she also wants to know, how do y'all make money? If there's no fee for landowners, how does HLRBO make money? Is it application fee from the hunters, or? How are y'all making this work?
Yeah, no, that's actually one of the top questions that we get. It's the what's the catch? Um, so we recently switched over to the subscription service for hunters. So in that case, we charge hunters. So it's free for landowners.
So does a hunter have to, if they're looking for land on your property, do they have to have a subscription
No,
to HLRBO? No, so the subscription is for like, what
subscription
does
is
the subscription do?
sure. The subscription is for like the premier hunting listings. So
So how do you become a premier hunting listing?
that it is the depends on like the demand of the area and the type of wildlife that you have. Yeah, so it's like the hot listings or per se.
The hot spots
Yeah,
type thing. So if a landowner is wanting to know if they have potentially a premier hunting, they could reach out to you directly and talk with you perhaps to see if that's something that they would be eligible for.
yeah, yep.
Okay. Okay, so next question. This is from Terry. She she or he asked what was the average per acre rate in Georgia? We leased to a club in Southeast Georgia, and although other landowners tiptoe around rates, and what I think you said was very high for what I think the going rates are for our area, our goal has been to cover our property taxes and some. So I think you gave an average rate in Georgia going between $30 and $50 an acre, if I
Yeah,
remember correctly.
yep,
But again, emphasizing it's dependent on your specific region, what you are offering for hunting, the stipulations for it. I know like probably the more stipulations, the lower your rate's going to go.
yeah,
And just like in forestry, I can talk about average pulpwood markets down in my area, but you go 2 hours west and they're going to change pretty significantly, or go 3 hours north, and that number is going to be significantly different just because of the local markets and demands. So I imagine hunting leases are very, very similar to that
yes.
without the mills. So so I know we didn't really answer your question, Terry, but it's a ballpark range, a statewide average
Yeah.
range that they have found through their website they are receiving. Um, from Stephanie, what are the expectations for having multiple hunters on your property? Is it typical to share the area, or do most want it to be only one hunter using it as a time? So group hunting versus single person hunting, I guess. Do you see a preference of what gets leased a little bit better?
I I have kind of seen a mix of both. I don't see one that is better than the other. Most of what I've seen has been like 2+ folks because they usually want to go hunting with a friend. But might be different from another team member that has
Hmm.
seen.
So the way my interpretation and expectations would be it would probably depending on the hunters themselves, like a hunting group
True, yeah,
versus someone and what they're looking for. Some folks are perfectly fine going to WMAs, and
you're
you
right,
expect lots of hunters to be out there, or several hunters, versus someone like me that would be paying. Honestly, I'm a little selfish on my hunting. I don't want a lot of people out there.
right.
And so I probably wouldn't lease from somebody that is leasing out to 5 people, but that's just my personal preference. So to your question, Stephanie, it probably varies from person to person based on their personality. Um, Now, from a landowner perspective, I would assume if you were leasing to multiple hunters at one time, you'd probably have to disclose that to anybody else that wanted to lease, and you'd probably have to have more acreage, I'm assuming, to sustain multiple hunters. Like someone with 40 acres, I assume, wouldn't be able to lease to like 10 different hunters. It's just not enough land to
Right.
sustain 10 hunters at a time, but someone with 1,400 acres, probably could sustain 10 hunters that might have an overlapping lease and have some type of method that they could see who's out
Right.
there when. This is just me making assumptions.
No, that's about right. It's up to the landowner and the hunter to have those conversations. Um, you know, are there other folks that are hunting this as well, and so forth.
Hmm. Okay, and again, I guess I would emphasize that Stephanie, that if landowner if you want to do multiple hunters, if you just want to deal with one at a time, if you're what you're most comfortable with as well. All right, another question from CW. She asked me, can you discuss integrating a year lease and an impact integration into forest management plan and its stages? So CW, so how would you integrate a hunting lease opportunity into your forest management plan? It would really complement more or less what you're doing. So depending on what your goals were, say your goals were just for maximizing economics, the hunting lease would kind of integrate and supplement that. So it wouldn't change your clear cutting or your harvesting timelines, or at least I would not recommend it for it to change, but you would probably have to change maybe your rates, or you might take a year off of hunting lease while you're doing that clear cut, and then renew the lease at a different rate because now you have a different type of habitat that you're providing out there that wasn't out there before. And so it would just work as part of a piece of the puzzle. It wouldn't dominate or change your plans. You would just add it into the overall system, if that makes sense, CW. Heather said recommended rates for sustainable hunting is no more than 1 hunter per 100 acres. This is annual lease by clubs. So again, and I know Heather's in Southern Georgia. That's going to be for Southern Georgia for, I'm assuming deer hunting as well, based on probably QDMA type recommendations for that sustainable hunting opportunities. But the average landowner isn't probably going to be doing all that math. It's looking at an opportunity to receive income, especially if you just have 50 acres sitting out there and you haven't done much with it, and you want to try doing a hunting lease, for a season. You're probably not going to want 50 new strangers out there anyhow. So you lease to a person or two for a few weekends, and give it a try until you get your feet a little bit more wet and you get a little bit more experience on both sides, hunters and landowners. Any any other questions from our folks in the audience? And Cookie, do you, while we give them just a few minutes to see if they have any other questions, do you have anything else you want to touch on or dive a little bit deeper into?
I think we kind of covered most of it already. If you have further questions, you can definitely reach out to me at cookie@hlrbo.com or info@hlrbo.com. I'm going to send Danielle a few of our links that you can share with your audience. Yeah, so they could be more references.
All right, and I just I've sent this file a few times in the chat. It's pretty much the links that Cookie has sent me before to their website, her contact information, so you can download that. It's just a short one-page PDF, kind of outlining some of the stuff we touched on. It will be uploaded to my website and my social media accounts as well, so you'll be able to have reference to it. And of course, the HLRBO website as well on all the social media platforms. You just type that in. They're really easy to find. Okay, so one last question before we tune off. Is it typical for the landowner to meet with the hunters in person before and after their rental time?
I actually don't know too much about that. I think that might be just preference. I would think it would be a good thing just so you can gauge and meet that person, get them to sign the lease agreements and stuff. Obviously, you could do that electronically, but I wouldn't think it would be a bad thing to do.
So yes and no, Stephanie. You can, if you're near your property, it's probably a lot easier
Right.
than if you live long distance from your property,
Yeah.
depending on how much property you have. I know personally, again, I would feel more comfortable knowing who that
Mhm.
person was, at least
Yep.
before they go out there,
Right.
meeting them before they go and camp for the weekend. Um, what do you suggest about gutting in the field? I don't really
Mhm.
know what that question means, Heather. Um,
I think
but
maybe
if you send me a follow-up to that, we'd be more than happy to follow up with you personally on that question. All right, well, I just want to say thank you to everybody who, oh, okay, disposal of guts and skin field dressing. Okay, so you're just, what, Cookie, what do you suggest about basically
I think
field
that's
dressing?
I think that might be up to the landowner. I don't know too much about that specific that specific question, but I think that might be up to the landowner.
Yeah,
On how you want to handle that.
I would assume the same thing as well. Probably depending on the amount of acreage you have. If you are leasing 15 acres, you probably don't want all of that right there by
Yeah.
your home site potentially. However, it's also not going to be there very long with all the other wildlife out there. So, in my opinion, unless you have a huge hunting club out there that is, bringing in a lot of game, especially at one time, I don't see that as a huge problem.
Yeah. I guess it all depends.
Um, all right. Well, thank you so much for everybody for tuning in live, for your great questions. We really appreciate it. I will be sharing this video on my website, on my social media accounts. It'll also be with HLRBO. If you would please share it with other folks we really appreciate that too. And Cookie, thank you so much for your time today. We really
Well,
appreciate it.
yeah, thank you. I had a lot of fun. Thank you all for attending, and thank you again, Danielle, for the invitation. It was really cool.
All right. Well, I hope y'all have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye, y'all.